if you are listening to me and you were like, Lachelle, I just want a strategy to grow my business, but I don't have time, but I don't have enough to say, but, I'm just going to call you out on your big butts right now and just let you know that this is definitely an untapped resource that you could be executing to change the entire direction of your business.
Welcome to the Spiral Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lachelle Wieme, a peak performance coach and business strategist dedicated to helping you see what's possible within you, the blind spots that are holding you back, and the solutions to ensure success and fulfillment without the hustle. I use my secret sauce of metaphysics, brain science, and scripture to work with God to manifest your ideal life and business. If you're ready to create massive forward momentum in your business and bust through the blocks that drag you down, join me on the Spiral Up journey and create the clarity, confidence, and consistency to become the CEO that lives your life by design. It's time to create the sustainable impact, income, and time freedom you desire faster. Now is the time to spiral up.
Hey, friends. Welcome back to the Spiral Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lachelle Wieme, and today I want to talk to you about lead generation, specifically using networking to build your funnel. And I got to just tell you that I run into this more than I really want to when I talk to people who are like, I just don't know enough people in my community, or I just can't meet the right people, or I just don't know how to have enough leads coming in. And it's like, literally, we are missing out on this beautiful gold mine of connections in our own backyard. And I just got to tell you that when I've looked at my own retreat, for example, and recognizing that people are literally traveling around the entire world with me, I look at the people there and I'm like, oh my gosh, like many of them are from my local demographic area. And I would not have met them had I not gotten myself out there and started to meet people in my community. So what I want to do is tell you about the pros and cons of networking, and honestly some tips that are going to help you to really execute these connections to the maximum. All right. So I just got to tell you first that many of you guys are probably listening to me and are like, yeah, no thanks. Like, I don't want to put myself out there. I am an introvert. I'm just a something, and I don't belong in that kind of thing. And I'm just going to call like BS on all of that and really just recognize that if you are listening to me and you were like, Lachelle, I just want a strategy to grow my business, but yet you're like filling yourself with all of these, but I don't have time, but I don't have enough to say, but, I'm just going to call you out on your big butts right now and just let you know that this is definitely an untapped resource that maybe you could be executing to change the entire direction of your business. So first off, I'm just going to let you know about my own journey with this, because this wasn't a natural progression for me either. If this is something that's hard for you, like I get you, I see you, I feel you. And here I was, back, oh my gosh, this would have been probably 2017. And I had started my network marketing and skincare business about a year before that. And a friend of mine invited me to a networking event. And I'm like, who am I to go to this? Like, I am just a network marketer. I'm just a skincare consultant. And I didn't feel like I belonged, but I reluctantly said yes. And I got to tell you that I met some incredible women in there, one of which actually became a partner with me. Now, even though we were in the same company and on different teams and technically competitors with one another, we ended up becoming friends and partnering with each other and having events that allowed for both of our businesses to grow just because I attended that event. And I'm going to say fast forward probably about 6 months to a year. And I was meeting with my financial advisor and I was telling him about this additional stream of income that I had. And he ended up inviting me to his networking group. And I remember coming in and thinking, I had all the dang excuses to say no, right? Like I didn't know if I belonged. All these people seemed fancy, right? There were the financial advisors and the chiropractors and the bankers and all the things that I felt like, who am I to have, myself like introduce what it is that I was doing. And I felt like such an imposter. But I noticed that the people that I was meeting were next level caliber people who also knew more people in their network that were similar to that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is just the snowball effect of really getting to know people in my community who know people, right? And I also recognized at this event that they were learning something. They were growing, they were finding tips and strategies. And I was like, I love to learn. And so it kind of got me interested. And so when they invited me to join the group on a regular basis, I was intrigued and interested, but definitely had my own reservations and my own pauses. And I just want to tell you guys this because I get you. I feel you if any of these have been any of yours, right? So my first excuse was like, I'm just a network marketer. Like, who am I to go to these things? And what I started to recognize is that the moment that I started to see my business as a business and not just as a side gig, not just as a hobby, not just as something I do on social media, and I actually started to own the fact that I have a business, that I am a business owner, and that I wanted to become not only the best version of that for myself, but in my community, it allowed for me to start to shift my belief in myself and really start to show up as a business owner that is deserving of respect, right? The other thing that I struggled with when it came to deciding to do something like this was time. You see, at that time, I was growing my business alongside my full-time anesthesia career. And in surgery and medicine, right? Like the shift starts early. So usually I would be at work by 6:15 in the morning. And then there was no, you know, predictability as far as when I was going to be done at the end of the day. So 3 o'clock was the end of my so-called shift, but it might be 4, it might be 5, it might be 6 o'clock. And so for me to schedule something on a regular basis felt super um, daunting, to be perfectly honest with you, but I came up with a solution. And what I ended up doing was, because the meeting that I chose started at 7:30 a.m. So it was like a 7:30 to 9. I think that's what it was, like 7:30 to 8:30, something like that. On Tuesday mornings, what I did was I requested to work a late shift on those days, and people don't like working late shifts. So I volunteered to do that so that I could get to the meeting beforehand and then go to work. And I remember being able to make it work. So this is the thing that I hear a lot is like, I don't have time, or, oh, I had to work that day, or, I just, I can't make it work. And I'm going to call BS on it, because the reality is that if we decide to make something a priority, we will make it a priority. If we believe that it's worth making concessions for, and if we believe that it becomes something important to us, we will find a way. And so I'm going to encourage you to just call yourself out on any buts around that, like, I don't have time, or I was working. I'm like, if it matters to you, you can schedule around it and find a way. Like, if you're determined enough, you'll find a way. All right. Now, the other but that I had going into this was investing. You see, I had to pay at the time, I think it was like $50 a month, and that gave us, access to weekly meetings. There have been other events that I have, you know, joined after that were, more than that for a monthly visit. And I really struggled with that. I think that sometimes people, especially when we're not taking ourselves seriously enough, don't feel like it's worth investing in ourselves, investing in our growth. And I'm just going to call that out on the table here, because if you want to grow your business, you have to be willing to grow yourself alongside of that business. And sometimes you have to pay attention. And investing in yourself, investing in your growth, investing in your lead generation is an investment, meaning that you're going to get your money plus some back. And I want to just remember, or help you remember that, because you can't expect massive growth if you're not willing to put the time and the energy and the investment of monetary exchange into that. All right. So I just want to give you a little truth of the hug there. The other thing that kept me back for a really long time was just the fact that I am definitely an introvert. I'm definitely shy. And I'm like, I didn't, especially, oh my gosh, like, especially going into big groups. So the ones that I'm referring to definitely like give me this really nice intimate vibe. It was usually a group of 20 people or less sitting around a table, getting to know each other. The other one that I ended up going to later was more like 50 to 60 people. But again, there were tables that were, 6 people to a table. And so I felt more comfortable in this small group. But I will say that I was invited to groups that were, inside the country club, and I would show up in a chair in rows. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is so intimidating, because as an introvert, you guys, if those of you guys who are not like people like myself, going into a social event where you don't know anybody or you're not with somebody is really scary. And you go in and you're like, oh my gosh, what if nobody talks to me? What if I say something stupid? Like, what if everybody knows everybody and I'm the only one who, is stuck in this corner, like not knowing anybody? Like, there's all of these things that go through your head. And I just wanted to say that you can't get over that kind of stuff until you put yourself into that situation and prove to yourself that you're not going to die, that you're not going to spontaneously combust, and that you will actually prove to yourself that you're capable of hard things. And that leads me to my last but that I really had to acknowledge in this space. And that was really that I didn't know what to say. You see, nobody had ever taught me what to say for a quote unquote elevator pitch. Like, how do I describe what I do and who I help in a succinct way, in a way that allowed me to show up with confidence and being intriguing enough for people to want to continue this conversation. And I really struggled with that. And I remember the first time that I went to one of these meetings and I was asked to stand up and introduce myself. Like, it was nerve-wracking. And it took me several times to get comfortable with that. And again, I'm going to just say though, that you won't know until you try it, and you won't get better until you try it again and again and again. And I really had to be determined enough to learn and to refine and to test and to practice in order for me to get there. And I remember there was one meeting that I went to on a weekly basis where we essentially were encouraged to sign up for a 10-minute showcase. And this is an opportunity for us to show up and to talk about our business for 10 minutes and why people should, work with you. And I remember I was terrified, but I put my heart and soul into it. And I really was thoughtful about what I put together, and I nailed it. You guys, I practiced it. I nailed it. And again, I proved to myself that I was capable of hard things. I proved to myself that I wasn't just somebody that was selling skincare. I was proving to myself that I take myself seriously and that other people can too. And I was able to really reflect on what does make me special and why do I stand out, and why can you trust me with your skincare needs or your family's skincare needs? Like, I was able to dive into that introspection because of this assignment. And I want to encourage all of you guys to put yourself into situations that are going to allow for you to examine yourself and to figure out what does make me special, what does help me stand out, what do my customers tell me is my secret sauce, so that I can actually communicate that with other people. So those are some of my buts, and I am so freaking glad that I didn't give into them and that I forced myself to get out there and to get to know people in the community. And I will tell you that I have met some of my closest friends from those community networking events that I went to. Like, literally, people that have been in my life for over a decade were part of that initial getting to know people. And I started to find that there were people out there like me that really were passionate about what it is that I did, that wanted to continue to grow and learn and connect with other people. And I will say that that is something that would be something I would say stands out about me, is that I love to meet people and then find out ways that I could connect them with other people that could help them, or that they could help, and allow their business to grow and people to be helped and all the things like that. Makes me so happy to be the connector. And when I get to do that in my community, when I get to do that to support small businesses, when I get to do that to make people feel heard and seen in my local community, like, it feels so good, right? And then I was able to take that beyond my local community and start to network in groups that form on the internet through Zooms on a regular basis. And again, now my influence has been able to expand beyond my geographical location to my state, to my country, to the world, literally helping and having clients from all over the world now. Like, it's so cool, but it all happens because you get to know people, and people, introduce you to other people, and you literally find that, oh my gosh, like, where have you been all my life? But I had to get out of my own way in order to make that happen. And I believe in this so much that I actually started with a friend of mine, our own networking group a couple of years ago when we were in COVID, and Katie and I were like, gosh, we want to continue to grow. We want to surround ourselves with really badass, smart, motivated women who genuinely care about people and want to make the world a better place and want to grow together and want to be the best in the industry. We wanted that, and we wanted to find a way to bring all of those people together in one room. And so we created something, and I host meetings now in our community once a month that allow for me to bring in this powerhouse group of other women and allow us to be seen and to be heard and to be going beneath the bro code of, just our elevator pitch, but actually get to support each other and learn from each other. And just yesterday I held one of these, and it was really cool actually, because not only did women come up to me afterwards and say, like, Lachelle, I didn't realize how lonely I had been in business, that I felt like maybe I was the only one who was experiencing this, because we see how everybody else is appearing in the outside on social media and their fancy billboards in town and all the things. And we think that we're the only ones that have this trash talk going on inside of our heads, right? And once we were able to bring these women together and to allow them to open up and be vulnerable, they started to realize that they were not only not the only ones that were experiencing this, but we're very solution oriented. And so together as a group, we were able to problem solve and share tips and tricks and ways in which that we're able to overcome some of this stuff. And it was unbelievable. The amount of relationships and bonding that I saw just take place in a quick hour and a half yesterday. The other thing that was really cool is that, for example, there were two women that showed up and that I had never met before. And I'm trying to remember, they were a friend, or they actually they just were followers on social media of one of the gals that comes regularly. And she was going to be doing her showcase that day. So she had mentioned that. And then these other two women came. And it was really cool because both of them I had never met before. Technically didn't even, have a mutual connection because Steph really didn't know them personally. They just happened to follow her. But they both have a really tight connection to one of the streams of income that I have that I can't wait to connect them, to. And so it's like, oh my gosh, like how cool is that, right? And so I just want you to know that, like, there are really cool things that happen when we say yes to that stuff. Now, I want to give you a couple of tips though that are going to allow you to take advantage of these experiences and make the most of them. So the first thing I'm going to say is that I want you to give yourself permission to find the right fit. That you might find that going to a local BNI group is exactly what you need, because it's very structured and there's a mix of men and women, and they, are very good about referring people within that group, right? And that it's very inclusive in the sense, exclusive in the sense that only one person from each industry can be a part of a local BNI group. So there are amazing benefits to that, right? And then there are going to be other people that are hosting things like what I do, which is in a very abundance mindset. Like, I don't necessarily want to pigeonhole so that there's only one realtor and only one financial advisor, because I believe that our energy and our customer service and the way that we present ourselves is going to be what sets us apart. And so when we are able to show up as our best and give people the opportunity to choose, that's when the most amazing customer client relationship relationship with business owners can happen. And so I'm definitely more of an abundance, like, everybody come, everybody show up, let's learn together, let's grow. Mine is particularly geared towards women specifically. And so, you're going to find that there's going to be the right people in the right spaces, but you might have to try out a few different hats in order to decide that. And you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into one particular thing, right? So I'm part of a couple of different things, and each of them meet a different need. And sometimes there's a cool overlap between people, and people keep getting exposed to me and I get exposed to them over and over again with this overlap. And sometimes it's like a completely new group of people. And so I want you to say yes to the experience and give it a shot, and then decide, is that for me or not? And give yourself the opportunity to explore lots of different ways that could look. All right. I do think that it's important to have some type of an exchange of information. So you can go old school and bring a business card. I personally, I do have lots of business cards, and people will say, well, it just goes in somebody's drawer, but it is an actual exchange of information. And it's nice just to have that for when you need to go back and get it. And so a business card is a great way. There are also very great digital business cards that will allow you to like tap each other's phones, and their information and your information will go into each other's like contact information. Sometimes I remember going to Atlanta once to launch a business of a partner of mine. And I was on the train, and I was talking to this guy, and I'm like, can I have your card? And he's like, oh my gosh, Lachelle, that is so like 2000. And he's like, what's your LinkedIn profile? Right. And so just know that there's a variety of ways for you to be able to connect with people. But I am going to encourage you to do some form of exchange of who you are. Maybe it's connecting on Facebook or Instagram. Maybe you have a QR code on a piece of paper that people can just take a picture of, and then they have all your information. I don't care what it is, but I do want you to exchange some type of information. All right. The next thing that I want you to do is I want you to start crafting your introduction. And I think that we almost are living in this place right now in the world where we get a cheat code. And I'm going to say that because ChatGPT is literally like the cheat code for all of us, where I have primed my chat so well that it knows me sometimes better than I know myself. And so I could go into ChatGPT and I can say, hey, Lumi, I want a really great, quick 30-second elevator pitch. Can you draft me up a couple of examples? And then it spits it out. And then I get to just choose which one feels right. All right. So don't overcomplicate it. Use your ChatGPT if you want to. But I will say that I want to encourage all of you, though, to practice saying it out loud. Now, there's something about when you say it in your head, it sounds different than when you say it out loud. And the more that you can practice it out loud, the more that it sounds like you're not reading it, the more that it sounds like you believe in it, and that coherence, that heart-brain coherence really shows, and you appear more confident than if you are stumbling over those words. Now, I don't want you to use that as an excuse not to show up because it's a good, better, best situation. Give yourself some grace, but I'm giving you some tips to make you shiny and to stand out. And one of those is practicing saying your elevator pitch, who you help. So I help blank, do blank by this or without this, right? So I could say that I help solopreneurs be able to scale their businesses to consistent 5-figure months without burning out and working 24/7. Like that's simple, right? And so then people are like, oh, I'd like to know more about that. Or, oh, I know somebody, sometimes I'll insert an extra word, like I help service-based solopreneurs scale their businesses to 5-figure months. And then like, oh, well, I know a service-based solopreneur. I should connect you. And so the more specific that you can be, the more clear that you are about who you help, how you help them, what problem you solve, what you can do, you do that without something that people don't want to do. It's going to help you stand out, and it's going to help people be like, oh my gosh, I know somebody, I need to connect you with them. But practice it out loud. Oftentimes I tell people just do it in the car on your commute over and over again. Just practice saying it out loud so you can hear it and get that energy up. All right. I also want to encourage you to connect with people one-on-one. And so oftentimes people think that when you go to some of these things, then it's just going to lead to like this massive influx of business. And sometimes that can happen if you're really standing out and you have a business that a lot of people in your community need. That might happen that way. And so I'm not saying that's impossible, but I'm going to say that for most of us, it really does require some beautiful one-on-one relationship building. And I love to encourage people to pick one or two people from a networking group that you've been a part of and schedule a one-on-one, a coffee, a lunch date. I remember back, before COVID, when I was doing anesthesia and I had one day off a week, what I would do is I would go to a local coffee shop and I would literally have my one-on-one coffee dates back to back. So 30 minutes back to back to back to back to back. And it was really cool actually, because as the person that we were wrapping up was leaving, the next person was coming and I got to introduce them to each other. So now I'm making connections with people, right? And I was able to stay in high vibes and it was amazing to do it. I would just do that, a morning, once a week and really connect with people. Now, When you are meeting people one-on-one, you get a chance to know them really, really well. And that's an opportunity for you to be able to connect, collaborate, and possibly help serve them in whatever it is that you do. And for those of you guys, like myself, who are introverts, you're probably like, oh my gosh, like that sounds scary. But us introverts are actually better one-on-one, and we're really good at listening. And that's what I'm going to encourage you guys to do is zip it and actually listen and get to know the person that you're meeting and find out what they do and why they do it, and evoke this passion. And what people don't realize is that subconsciously, when somebody else is interested in them and they're really interested, not just surface level, but like actually like what lights you up, like why do you do what you do? What's your favorite part about what you do? All of a sudden they feel seen and heard, and they naturally are going to be drawn to you as just like you're a likable person. And we're not saying this to manipulate them. We're saying it because we want to genuinely get to know them. And that allows for us to be able to serve them in some way. And so ask them questions, get to the, like, how long have you been doing what you're doing? What got you started? What's your favorite part about it? And allow them to come alive and for you to get to know them. And then towards the end of the time together, I always will finish with like, tell me, like, what can I do today to serve you? Like, what can I do to bless you today? And sometimes they'll say like, oh my gosh, well, just being with you has been a blessing. Like I get that a lot, right? Like just being with you is a blessing, which is great. So then if they say something like that, I'll say, well, what is one problem that you're trying to solve right now? What that does is it allows for me to think about ways I can help them. So both of the questions do the same thing. It's just a matter of like the way that they answer the first one, like how can I bless you? Sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, it would really bless me if you could tell me more about your business, or it would really bless me if you could connect me with so and so, or it would really bless me if blah blah blah. But if they don't get there, I'd say, what is one problem you're trying to solve right now? And then what I do is I help them. So maybe it's, oh my gosh, I know somebody who does that. Let me connect you. And I know that this person does this, like that could really help you, right? Or, oh my gosh, that actually is what I do. I'd be happy to talk to you about that, right? And so just leaving it with this place of like, I've heard you, you've said this, like, what can I do to help you? What can I do to bless you? Now, when somebody does at a networking one-on-one ask me like, well, can you help me with that? I like to keep these very relationship focused. And so I say, oh my gosh, that's such a great question. What I would love to do, if you're really wanting to talk about that, is let's schedule a time one-on-one where we can actually dive into that deeper, because I really just wanted to get to know you today. And that makes me feel good because I feel like I'm in integrity. I didn't come here with this like side shifty, motivation. It really is just to get to know you, but let's focus our conversation next on that. And then I pull out my calendar, like, would next Tuesday work? Right? And we can totally dive into that. And so it allows for you to introduce what it is that you do and help them, but in a way that feels clean energy. And ultimately just listen, genuinely care, genuinely decide like, okay, how can I help them? And maybe they just need prayer. Maybe that they need a connection. Maybe they become a customer, a client. I don't know. I don't go into with this agenda that it needs to turn into something. I go into it saying, Lord, help me to bless this person in some way, shape, or form today. Help me to listen more than I talk, and help me to just be present. And when I do that, you guys, I promise you that things start to click. But these all happen because we're building one-on-one relationships. And this is going to be more fruitful than, I think people oftentimes get disillusioned with social media and website SEO. And they think that if I just get my copy perfectly right, or if I just post the perfect thing, that people are just going to show up in my inbox or show up on my calendar and ask me how they can pay me for my services, right? And I think that we're doing a disservice to people by making people feel like that's the expectation and that that's not happening to you, that there's something wrong with you. And I believe that when you can take a cold lead and create them into a warm relationship, that referrals happen. People are more likely to say yes faster. There's so much that can happen just because you've gotten out of your house and you've gotten in front of another human being and you started building a relationship. All right. So this was a quick down and dirty on networking. And I hope that this helped. I hope that this inspired you to start to get yourself out there and meet other people. And I want to close up this episode with an invitation. So every single third Wednesday of the month, I host a networking Zoom inside of my Spiral community, and it's called the High Vibe Society Networking. And from 11 a.m. to noon Central Time on the third Wednesday of the month, we meet on Zoom, and you meet people from all over the world, and you get a chance to have experiences of high level, high vibe, growth minded conversations with men and women that are in my community, and then the people that they invite. And I'm going to invite all of you guys. So I would love for you to join us. So we will make sure that we have a link here in the show notes that tell you about how you can join one of those. And I would absolutely love for you to join us at our next high level or high vibe networking Zoom call. All right. So stop getting your own thinking way, start meeting people, and let's start to grow our business through the power of community and connection. Shall we? All right, you guys, I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
So much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Each honest review helps me spiral up so that I can serve you even better. Whether you're feeling a lack of impact, income, or time freedom, or perhaps you're just ready for massive momentum in your business, let's chat. Apply for a breakthrough call so that you can gain clarity, identify what's holding you back, and make a plan to spiral up. Head on over to im-lifebydesign.com/breakthrough or access the link in the show notes. For immediate support, log into our community, the Better Club. We focus on inspiration, tactical guidance, and support. This is a community that wants to be better, do better, and have better in life and in business, and we're going to help you do the same. Let's spiral up, friends.